Hey, everybody. Welcome to I'm Not a Fan Unless I Have a Podcast. I'm John Hanford, and this is the final audio only episode of this podcast, beginning with episode 15 next Tuesday. We will introduce a video component, which I think is an upgrade. It's an interesting thing. We're still quarantined for the most part, and even those of you who have for whatever reason your town has opened up already and you're back at your office job, like you could throw this podcast on YouTube in your cubicle or something. Your boss won't care. If you work a corporate job, you should try getting away with more shit than you have already. They're not going to fire you. So anyway, whatever. That was a tangent, but we go off on so many of those this episode. Which I will get to in like a minute. In the meantime, I do just want to say a little bit on all that's going down with. Just holy shit! What a crazy 30 days this has been, or not even. We're what at the 3-week mark for all these protests, for the killing of George Floyd. I mean, that I think we're at least 3 weeks in, or maybe what is it like? I think it happened on a Monday, so I think we're like 23 days removed from the murder of George Floyd, and holy shit, a lot of stuff is changing for the better. And also there's a lot of shit that's staying the same that's for the worse. I don't know what's going on in Atlanta exactly. All I know is that there was a police shooting there of another unarmed black guy, and they just straight up murdered him as he was running away last week. And the cop that killed him, he's already been charged with felony murder. I don't know if that's murder in the first degree, but I think it is, or it's equivalent to that, because he could possibly face the death penalty. I mean, I'm personally adamantly against capital punishment. I think it's fucked up. Regardless of what any murderer has ever done, and this is a belief I've had for a long time. There's just a certain point where I can't it just feels gross to me to advocate for murder by the state, regardless of the crime. It seems just kind of barbaric and from like medieval times. We're one of the U.S. is one of the only countries in the world that has the death penalty still, and it's just one of the dumbest things. But point is, in the context that we're dealing with here, that's a huge win for the, I guess, radical reforming of the police that we're hoping to see result from all this. So I don't know why exactly. I don't know. Nobody really knows if it's for sure what's going on, but apparently a bunch of cops in Atlanta just decided to call out and not go to work. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot of actual people, like a lot of cops just getting sick from COVID because Georgia opened up way too fucking quickly. There are just a lot of southern states right now that are just getting hit hard with the with the second wave of COVID. I've got friends in Texas, Mississippi, and Florida, and they're fucking, I'm glad I'm not them. It's fucking wild, but so the cops in Atlanta say that they're not. I don't know what they're what's going on exactly. They say that it's just a coincidence that the cops called out, um, and that they're not doing it in protest. But if there's anything I've learned from this whole moment in history, it's that you really can't trust anything that the police say. I mean, I think it would make sense that a lot of cops called out sick because, yeah, there's a fucking pandemic and it's on the rise again. But at the same time, uh, we saw other cops in Buffalo stand outside the courthouse um, when those two cops that nearly killed a 75-year-old guy, um, when they were released, with no bail or anything, they were cheered as they left the courthouse, even though they had, just been charged. Um, and then they subsequently resigned or whatever, which is a fucking stunt because they're probably expecting to get rehired. But it's just a wild situation right now. But it is encouraging to see all this change happening so quickly. But again, gotta keep the pressure on and not let up until until we really see something take hold. That's like a real sustainable, well thought through change. I just hope that whatever new alternative that's put into place doesn't, I just hope it's not a catastrophic failure that makes the current police say, "Ha, told you so." Anyway, I could go on for hours about this, and it wouldn't be any fun for anybody listening, not even me. It would really suck for me. I want to get this podcast going because this episode is, like I said, it's the last audio only episode. So I figure, what a way. Let's cap off this audio only era with another group call. Jarod and Matt join us from Maryland. These guys are, a couple early 20 somethings. They remind me a lot of myself, from like 10 years ago. And I mean that in like the most endearing way possible. This was a really fun conversation that, it just went all over the place. Jarod really brought, he had a lot of stories ready to go, and I'm fucking here for it. So I hope you guys are as well. This is a really fun episode, so enjoy. Thank you guys for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, hey, of course. Man, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not every day that we have multiple guests on this pod, but you guys said it was of utmost importance, and I'm taking your word for it. So, what is your basic background and King Gizzard origin story?
So we've been friends for a very long time. We were like in Cub Scouts together when we were in the single digits age-wise.
It's all the way
been
back.
Best friends for as long as we can remember. But as far as our Giz story goes, I first heard them in either October or November of 2016 on one of my old college roommates' playlists that he would smoke weed to out by the back of the building like every night. I was absolutely fascinated by this song and such weird time signatures. It had this groovy, sort of jazzy sort of vibe to it. And there's probably a song that you're thinking of right now. And if you're thinking of The River, yeah, you read my mind. The River is one of those songs where you hear it, it just immediately from the get-go, it catches you. It might not be one of their most raucous songs, especially not the album version. It goes really hard on Chunky Shrapnel, but you have to pay attention from start to finish. It just takes you on a journey. And so I immediately, I didn't even own a record player, and I still don't own a record player, but I bought a copy of Quarters on vinyl. And, oh God, I think I'm close to completing all the flightless pressings now. Holy fuck, I spent too much money on it. I'm sure I'm not the only one.
And you don't own a record player.
No, I don't. My mom told me she's getting one for me as a graduation present from college. So we're looking for the right one, and it's a matter of finding a place that'll still sell you a record player during an apocalypse. It's not the easiest task.
Yeah. Definitely,
So I,
definitely avoid the like the cheap ones.
yeah,
Especially on
if
Amazon.
my mom dares buy me a Crossley, I will fucking disown her.
Unfortunately,
So I,
I'm the one with the record player, so he's bound to playing them all at my house for now. That's pretty sweet,
yeah,
honestly. Can't
I come here to
complain.
violate quarantine on basically a weekly basis. So I came home from college freshman year, and by that point, I want to say it was Flying Mochatonal Banana had already come out, and that was the soundtrack to my spring break that year. It was an incredible time. It was my first time I ever went to Florida. I would kind of just get baked on the beach and listen to these real fun microtonal jams and just look at my mom and be like, I'm having fun. So I came home, and right around Matthew and I, we were born one day apart. His birthday is June 25th, 1998, and mine is June 26th. And if you remember, right around June of 2017, the glorious year, praise be, that was when Murder of the Universe came out.
God
And I'll let
bless.
Matthew tell you about how that became his favorite album.
All right. Well, first of all, I definitely didn't start out as big of a fan as King Gizzard as Jared did. Unfortunately, I've been very lucky on that factor. I've not spent nearly as much money as he has traveling all over goddamn Europe to go to King Gizzard concerts. God, oh, I
Yeah,
wish. That's
I'll tell you about that in a
I
bit.
wish I could afford that. But okay. I also don't have a giant record collection or anything like that. But Jared came home from what is it? He came home from Ohio at one point. He came home from Ohio at one point, just playing all this really strange new music that we weren't really used to. Honestly, at first I thought it was really weird. The first song I think the first album that we went through was Flying Microtonal Banana. So that used all the microtonal instruments and everything. It was just so weird, so strange. I couldn't get used to it at all. And then eventually, I ended up, getting a little more into the band and everything. Then I got to, hear more about Murder of the Universe. Murder of the Universe was absolutely insane. It
Mhm.
changed my life. I had possibly I had been going through a lot of a rough period in my life. My grandfather had just died. All this other crazy stuff been going on. I was in a really dark state, and somehow Murder of the Universe kind of brought me into a more hopeful, state of mind at that point. It was very, very nice to have something like
Yeah.
that around. That
That
was basically right around the same time that this whole thing had been going on. We oh we have a whole story for what is it? A whole story for that year, basically, of King
Yeah,
Gizzard.
that summer,
I
that
can't
summer
even
was,
fathom to begin on this. This is just it's wild.
yeah,
yeah.
the summer of shenanigans per se.
So what exactly did that entail? Just like going to, I mean, because like they weren't. I don't think they toured. Did they tour in the U.S. that year?
They did some tours, and in fact, before the end of my freshman year, I took a weekend to go to Chicago. I took like an overnight bus on a Friday night, came back Sunday, and that day actually, what that I got back from Chicago, it was like a 9-hour bus ride each way, was the start of my initiation week at my fraternity. I didn't sleep for like a solid like 8-day period, and it was horrible. But
Yeah.
my only regret was that Saturday of that weekend, King Gizzard was playing at the Metro in Chicago, and this was the Flying Microtonal Banana Tour. And Banana wound up becoming my favorite album out of all of theirs. So I almost went, almost bought a resale ticket. But at the time, I was just working at an on campus food service place, and I didn't really think spending $200 on a resale ticket was going to be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But man, money is just a thing. $200 is going to disappear one way or another. To sink it on a King Gizzard concert ticket, at the very least, is going to give you some crazy memories. And that's, I really wish I'd gone to that show, but we wound up going to see him.
Jared's
For the
ass
first
talked
time in
really high
2018.
shit about that concert. He was talking about going for months on beforehand, and he didn't go. We'll give him shit for that. Oh my god,
Can't
our
blame
whole
him.
squad of friends just started bashing on him. We're like, dude, what the hell, man? You're gonna talk all this high
And that
shit
was
about this
before
band and then
you all
not go
even
to
knew
their
how great the
concert.
band is.
Oh, we were so
That was
mad
before you guys even knew.
before we even
You
knew how
didn't
good
even
they
know,
were.
man.
This is before we even listened to them. We just kind of knew, oh, this band exists, and King Gizzard, who the hell are they?
And you just knew that it was Jared's band, and that would be a really good way to get under his skin by just ripping him. Oh, dude, yeah. You guys know how to do that psychological torment. That's some good shit.
Without a doubt. It only got better from there, though. Honestly.
Yeah. So that whole summer, we pretty much every Thursday of one of those months, I remember we would go out to Ocean City, Maryland, which is about a 3.5-hour drive from where we live. We have to go across a big old bridge that goes over the Chesapeake Bay, and we'd go out to Matt's family condo, and we just go visit and whatnot, go chill on the beach. But there was one particular weekend where we knew, all right, we're going to do a lot more drugs than we should. So we rented a motel room. It was 5 of us friends that made it out for that. We stayed at a place called the Madison Beach Motel, the most beautiful shithole in all the land.
Honestly, if you have the opportunity, please stay there. They need the income desperately.
Yeah, and you need the bed bugs. Trust me.
Oh, worse.
It's a win-win.
They need new sheets.
So, did we stay in them, or were they like that to begin with?
They were like that to begin with. We got there and they were already there. God, the second we opened that door, you just got this musty smell, miserable, and you can tell, no one's been in there for a while. It just didn't feel like it. We were the
the
first
stain on the sheets was either month-old blood or decade-old cheerwine. Could have been both. I don't know.
Definitely blood, without a doubt. It was like some kind of stain, blood stain. Someone was murdered, or someone just straight up bleeding out of their vagina or something. It was right in the crotch area on the bed. So it's like.
It
How?
was NGRI sheet
Someone
porn.
chopped their dick off.
Hey, there we go.
I'm confused.
Okay, but I don't want to just gloss over that great reference. NGRI sheet porn. I'm in. And who knows? Maybe you get like some other fluids in there. Anything's possible at the Madison Beach Motel,
isn't it? So you got a glass of water at the Madison Beach Motel. Doesn't matter if it's open, hot, muddy. Spill it everywhere, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck, I got nothing else for water. It could be hot. It could be hot water.
No, you got it there. God.
Well, yeah, hot, open, or muddy. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, yep. You got to get some seltzer water, though, which they haven't written about to, get that stain out.
Yeah. Come on, they got to get on like the LaCroix frenzy.
Why haven't they written a song about LaCroix yet? I'm confused by that. It just seems like it's one of those weird random things that they would write about.
LaCroix is Vegemite for middle-aged white women.
Oh, I mean, I live in Southern California. Like any basic bitch is drinking LaCroix, including myself.
What do you buy LaCroix at Target?
Same here, John. Same here.
No, I actually buy it at it's this place that's actually I think they have a few locations in Maryland. It's called Costco.
Of course, got one right down the street, right across the street from the Key Stadium there.
Yeah, but I just wanted to drop the Ball Maries Costco. Anyway, you got a
fucking fancy SoCaler. I was born in San Diego, but I grew up in Maryland, so I always have just a sort of little part of me that wants to say I'm a Californian, but it would be unfair of me. I've always wanted to move back, but until I do, I'd be a liar.
Yeah, it's pretty great out here. It's like 100 today, but
not so bad.
It's less than half that here. If you don't look at how molecules work. You'd be like, whoa, is it high of 50 degrees? That's half as hot as it was where you are.
It's 100 without the humidity.
That's not how temperature works.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, luckily it's dry heat out here. I'm in the desert. But in any case, back to the Giz. So Jarod, Flying Microtonal Banana, that was your favorite from 2017, and Matt, yours was Murder of the Universe.
Definitely from around that time, Murder of the Universe.
Yeah. So did that stick with you as your favorite, or or do you?
That's
have you worked
the hard
your way
part.
away from having a favorite?
I think that I found myself more attached to not whole albums, but stories that they tell within their albums. So it was either that or the loyalty to Tetrimony. That whole list from Polygon
Inner
Wonderland.
Self Horology, that's sweet. Oh,
yeah. That whole year was crazy though. They released what 4 albums that year, five albums that year.
You're forgetting my favorite Gumboot suit. Well, it's not my favorite, but it's the one album I told myself I was going to get every single Flightless ATO and Heavenly variation of it because it's too hard to collect all the polys. So let's do the one that came after that, all the Gumboots.
Yeah, I just got one edition of Poly, just the Fuzz Club pressing, which I love. It's that one with the woolly mammoth.
Is it the clear one?
What's that?
Is it the clear vinyl one?
No, I'm pretty sure it's just regular vinyl. But
really,
yeah, it's I bought it for $33. I wasn't expecting anything insane. But yeah, I mean, just like that entire B side of just starting with Inner Cell and going all the way through the Fourth Color is just one of my favorite sequences that they've done.
100%.
I noticed, I was looking through their stats on setlist.fm, and I noticed from that album they've never played Tetrachromacy or Searching. I'm waiting for them to do that trilogy all the way through. I mean, it would be amazing.
Well, really, what I want for them to do is like ideally at one of the marathon shows.
That's what I was hoping for. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted them to play all the way from Inner Cell through the Fourth Color, just because like nobody's had that experience before live, and it's encouraging knowing that they've played, that they just started playing the Horology Suite, on the last tour, and that was just my favorite suite to see live from that. But but that sort of gave me hope that maybe with these 3-hour sets that they would just go all the way to the Fourth Color.
Oh yeah, they could have a lot of fun with the sets. Maybe do Crumbling Castle and Polly into Castle in the Air and Deserted Dunes, Welcome Weary Feet for night 1, and then night 2 do the back half of the album.
Yeah,
I wish they would tour like the entirety of an album. Like my favorite set lists are what was it? The show they played in Portland where they played the entirety of Rat's Nest back or front to back all the way through.
I was going to say we got really lucky out in DC.
Laneway?
Got really, really lucky out in DC. They played a good portion of Infest the Rat's Nest. It was pretty sweet. I think they got all the way. They did Venetian 2. They did Self-Immolate. They did Hell, March to the Rich. They did pretty much
Venetian
everything.
2 and Venetian 1.
I think they did Superbug too, which is really nice.
Okay, I'm forever jealous about
that was pretty sweet. That was pretty sweet. And they also played Sense for the first time live at that show, which was amazing.
Oh, motherfucker.
Oh, it was the best. I had the whole thing recorded. It's just sitting on my phone. I was just singing along the entire time. So of course, you just have my awful singing in the background, but it was amazing. It was jaw dropping. I was sitting there, wishing that I was just smacked out of my mind, dozing off, but I'm sitting here holding on for dear God life. I'm on the handlebar all the way at the front just so I can stay there and keep this shot going and keep the whole video going. I remember.
And John, that's just one show that he went to. What if I told you on the Rat's Nest tour, I saw 5 King Gizzard shows in 4 countries on 2 continents?
I mean, yeah, I believe it. You went to college and racked up a ton of debt. You seem to be pretty good at that.
That's my talent, spending money I don't have on things that I argue that I need, but maybe don't. Okay, it's good. So I had the fortune of studying abroad last semester. I had initially wanted to do it this semester, but I'm thankful that it didn't work out that way.
Oh, yeah.
Because I would have had my semester cut short like so many people that I know had happened to them. But I had to sacrifice something. I had to fly out on a Wednesday. It was 2 days before the show that they played in Philly and 3 days before the show that they played in DC. I had bought tickets to go to both of those shows, and I wasn't going to be able to go. I didn't think I was going to be able to see King Gizzard at all because I didn't know about the Europe shows at that point in time.
They hadn't announced them yet.
So what I did is I sold this lucky son of a bitch you're talking to along with me here my ticket at cost. for the DC show.
I forgot to grab
and then
mine.
I bought 2 tickets. Yeah, I bought 2 tickets then for me and my dad to go up to Philly to see that show. So I wound up giving them to him, and he's in his mid-50s, and he went with another friend of his, also named John, who's also in his mid-50s. And if you've ever seen any accounts of the Philadelphia show or any concert footage, you may have heard that's probably one of the hottest concerts in the history of Heat and of concerts. This man, John, passed out 3 times during the show. It apparently just drained the life out of him, but every song put it right back into him, which was amazing.
Yeah, get that man some fucking water.
Yeah, hydrate these
man
fuckers.
was drinking beer the entire time like an idiot.
Water, hot water, muddy water.
So of course you're gonna pass
out.
out.
Water and dump it on him.
You know what we need from Giz is a song called Flint Water, but it honestly would have fit nicely, like, you know, somewhere on Infest the Rat's Nest, but anyway, but
so I did tell you I made it to shows on 2 continents.
Yeah,
I saw the ones I saw in Europe, but I did make it to one North America show. I flew out about 2 days before I had to fly to Spain for 4 months. I flew to Chicago, and I saw them play at the Aragon Ballroom with a friend of mine that I had met at Ohio State and introduced to the band. And he is really a hard rock guy, but he only ever really listened to them on Pandora. So he got maybe a few of the songs off of Nonagon, a couple of Rat's Nest, and 1 or 2 other songs he had been familiar with.
Probably work this
Getting
time,
to see that show for him, something along those lines. But he was blown the fuck away. And I was so happy to be there. I got to have my Chicago-style hot dog earlier that day, camped out for a solid couple hours before the show like I tend to do. Met up with a couple of Gizhead friends that I had met previously. It was just the magic of going to see a King Gizzard show in the United States is no matter where you go, there are plenty of fellow Gizheads who tour with them to many shows. And you will see familiar faces wherever you go. It's truly magnificent.
How many shows do you think you've been to, Jared? I want to know this.
I've been to 6.
It feels like it's been more.
I'll tell you each and every one of them. No, it's been 6. I saw them 2018 with you and the boys in Philadelphia on my mom's birthday. So it was a nice way to get away from her for a little while. But I got Stu and about 50 of the fans after the show to sing happy birthday to her. So it's all okay. I wasn't ignoring her. I was just,
that's sick.
We got them to sign the concert flannel
really
during that concert, right? Didn't we?
I got some of them to sign the concert flannel. We'll tell them about the concert flannel
all right,
a little later.
we'll get there.
Because that story that story doesn't end.
Fuck a little later. What is a concert flannel?
This flannel is extremely special. We've had this. It's been something that I've had for a long time. You know, I never really did anything with it. I just kind of wore it every once in a while. It's this red and black flannel, something you get at like Target or something like that. You know, I brought it out to Ohio. This was actually
the end of my freshman year. April 20 something.
My first time,
2017.
first concert that I've ever gone to, and what was it? Jack Garrett, I believe it was Jack Garrett.
No. Let's not talk about Jack Garrett. That was a cool show we saw in October.
No, we didn't get it signed.
First actual concert,
we went to Two Door Cinema Club. That's where we first got it signed. You're right. I went to a concert, but then Two Door Cinema Club back in April of 2017 or something like that. You know, we were able to go out there and meet with the band after the concert and everything. And I just had this flannel on. I didn't know what I was going to do with it and stuff. And I had nothing for them to sign. And so just in the middle of waiting in line, you know, I was just going to have them like sign my forehead or something like that, you know, something stupid.
Yeah.
You know, Jared and I thought, oh man, maybe they should sign our shirts. But I was wearing a kind of nice shirt. I think it was like a Monster Cat shirt or something. I don't know why I was wearing it. But I didn't want to ruin it, so I decided that I was going to go ahead and get, you know, the side to sign this flannel. So now on each little box on this flannel, you know how like the style of flannel shirts, you know, they have that boxy plaid look on them a lot of the time. So on this plaid, you know, flannel, each one of those boxes, the red boxes, has a signature from a band member for a concert that either Jared and I went to the band or went to the concert for.
Yeah. And ever since that night, I've sort of been the steward of the concert flannel. 2 days later, he and I were supposed to go see Coin together at the venue that was right next door. Where
Fuck Entertainment Live.
Cinema Club. Hey, no. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. So we didn't buy tickets until the day of when they were already sold out. So we tried to scalp a couple tickets off of people waiting in line. We did. Unfortunately, only one of them scanned. The other one apparently had already been used or something like that. It wasn't valid.
Yep.
So we went back to the people in line, got half of our money back, and we were like, well, what's to do? One of us has to go here. Luckily, Matthew was trying to, get himself some of that good from one of the girls who lived next door to me. So I sent him back to my dorm with my keys and the directions to a pot brownie I'd been saving for a special occasion and said, go wild, kiddo.
Mission was a success. Your boy got laid. No, I'm kidding. That did not happen.
No, he didn't. Her standards are low,
but not that low.
She's from Michigan, but not. Yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around how another adult said he's trying to get some good. What the fuck are we, 12? Like,
maybe. How many times have people said I?
Jared's
like
about a 12-year-old at heart. Okay, from everything we know, Jared is easily 12 years old at heart. He acts like an adult, maybe 25% of the time.
Yeah, collects all the vinyl variants, pledges a frat, succumbs to pressure from friends who's giving him a shit for not seeing Giz. This is great.
Oh, it's amazing.
I'm all in on Jared.
I am a people pleaser through and through.
Quote, people pleaser.
So let's see. So let's see. Who else have I gotten to sign that flannel? Royal Blood, Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh, there we go.
Who else? Milky Chance. I actually got Milky Chance to sign my guitar. I had my friend Michelle bring it to me after the show, and Philip, who is the percussionist, one of the two guys from the band Milky Chance, he came out. I was like, where's Clemens? He's like, oh, he's too high. He cannot come out. And I said, well, can you bring my guitar to him so he can sign it? And he's like, I'll see if he's capable. That's how I like my band members. On the couch and incapable of moving.
That sounds like a blast.
But yeah,
so there's concert flannel.
The guys from Giz to sign up too. Yeah.
The concert flannel, has that ever been washed?
Oh, plenty. You'd think that just by using a Sharpie, it would all wash out. But I did my due diligence, and if you go to Staples or any other supply store like that, you have to look for them. But they sell industrial strength Sharpies that don't come out in the wash. And I've invested my fair share of quid into purchasing said markers because I don't want the memories to wash away.
Damn straight, yeah. That's good. I mean, like I didn't know about the industrial Sharpies, but that's definitely a good thing.
The more you know, man. Yeah. Those things have saved my bacon more than I can count.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, I mean, because like it would be terrible to just like give a totally grimy shirt to somebody to sign, especially after life goes back to somewhat normal. Like you can't just hand somebody dirty laundry and be like, hey, can you touch this?
Yeah, imagine being the guy in Barcelona on Chunky Shrapnel who caught Stu's shorts when he threw them into the crowd, taking it back to him after the show, getting him to sign it, and then washing him because you don't want to smell Stu dick for the rest of eternity. As fun as that might be for some people, you just want to get it clean.
Jared. You seem like the guy who might go for something like that. You might frame it inside of a glass poster or something like that. I don't know, man.
I am a Joey guy through and through.
Yeah, he's Joey, so it's that makes sense. They have different essences.
They really do.
Yeah, no, it just imagine like having something that special and then like having a signature on everything and then that just like disappearing. I had a friend in elementary school who had a Devin Hester autographed Chicago Bears jersey. And eventually the signature washed out and I realized memories are temporary. We only get what we put energy into remembering. So yeah, I think about Giz and exclusively Giz, and I'm pretty sure my 2 diplomas, I'll have forgotten everything I learned in college by the time they get here. So I've been thinking about when's the next album.
He's just gonna know how to sing all the King Gizzard songs in Spanish. That's mainly what it's gonna be.
No, I've been trying to figure out how to play like certain riffs and whatnot. I've been noodling a lot on Crumbling Castle. And
oh yeah, me too.
It's super fun, and some of the riffs are easy to do based on how a guitar is tuned. Very fun stuff for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I tuned my acoustic guitar down to C sharp, so I can, so I can
Rat
do that.
Nest, Inner Cell, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Plastic Boogie, even.
Yeah, I'm interested in trying to learn some stuff off of Fishies, but like right now I'm just focused on Crumbling Castle because we're in quarantine and it seems like it'll take about that long to figure out the entire 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But
right.
But yeah, man, it's it's a lot of fun. Just playing that riff and like all the little in betweens of Crumbling Castle. But so you guys play in a band together or separately?
No, all you musically inclined people. I only know how to play King Gizzard songs in 8-bit on YouTube. No.
Hey, those ones are a ton of fun.
They are a ton of fun. Honestly, I'm a big fan of those. Honestly, those would be great inside of like a little, side scroller video game or something like that. That's what I've been looking forward to trying to do. Yeah. Programming something like that going.
I heard 8-bit Escapades. I heard the guy behind that was about to do represses of those NES cartridges that he had put out a while ago, and I heard that there were going to be 4 new albums on it in addition to all the ones that came on the original. And I can't wait for that because I have my original Nintendo Entertainment System that I stole from my uncle back in Missouri. He didn't know how much it was worth. What he doesn't know can't hurt him.
Yeah.
I'd love to add something like that to the collection. I mean, I think that would bring me up to an even 10 versions of Polly. I've got 1 or 2 that I'm still waiting on, but that whole 8-bit, that sent me off the rails. It's one of my favorite YouTube channels for sure. If you guys aren't familiar, 8-bit Escapades, just all these fun 8-bit video game versions. Like every King Gizzard song sounds like a final boss in 8-bit music. It's truly great.
Especially Polly.
Polly.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like I really wanted. Once I heard that 8-bit Polly, I was like, wait, this should just become like a video game. Somebody should actually make a journey where you're starting at the Crumbling Castle, and then eventually, the whole point of it is to find the 4th color.
Oh my god!
Like
that would be amazing.
That would be. I mean, because Polygon's Wonderland was such an incredible, just otherworldly journey to go through sonically. If somebody actually, and like there are so many game designers out there that could just do this project. Maybe even collaborate with each other. Like each designer works on a different level / song, and that'd be sick. I would love to see that.
Oh, absolutely. And that, speaking of like possible projects you could do with this, it reminds me of there was some rumor that was going around a fan page a year or 2 ago about maybe Edgar Wright making a King Gizzard themed movie. I mean, we all know Edgar Wright is probably one of the most famous King Gizzard fans there is. To have someone of his caliber make a movie like that, I mean, fuck, Edgar Wright's probably top 3 of my personal favorite directors of all time. I'd sell most of my body parts to see that.
You got to wonder if Chunky Shrapnel was really just a matter of Stu angling to get Edgar Wright to get inspiration.
That would be fun.
I mean, because like Chunky Shrapnel definitely showed that you can make a really interesting film around just their live show. Yeah, and, I mean, like obviously they have the bootleg from Hell and all, and Unpeeling the Flying Microtonal Banana, and just all these other films that
How to Gut a Fishy.
Yeah, and all these little mini films for their for each album that comes out, or almost. Like it would be really cool if some of these big film directors could do some other shit. Like
what kind of genre would you guys place a King Gizzard movie into, though? Let's be real about that. Especially with Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright has a lot of range, but where does his range go to? All right, so are we sticking more like Scott Pilgrim or Ant-Man kind of look, something like that, or are we looking more toward just straight up horror? I feel like, or like something like Lord of the Rings style, something like that for like a Murder of the Universe. I don't know.
I think probably fantasy horror, sci-fi.
Fantasy horror, I think,
comedy
would nail it. I think fantasy horror would nail it.
Yeah, I think I think if you were to do like a full feature film, with like a plot, Yeah, fantasy horror for sure.
I think every album starting with Eyes Like the Sky is capable of turning into a standalone film.
Eyes Like the Sky is probably the most underrated album. Honestly, I think nobody listens to it. Nobody listens to it. As far as
I feel like people are starting to become more familiar with it now because, I mean, when they did the AMA a few weeks ago, somebody who posted about getting Eyes Like the Sky on Spotify because it was not ever really on any streaming services. And then, like, 5 days later, I popped up on Apple Music. I was looking under their albums. I saw Eyes Like the Sky. I think I shat my pants. And then I called my friend Alec, who's another one of our really good friends who we took to the concert a couple of years ago. And I told him, I was like, hey, dude, Eyes Like the Sky is on Apple Music. He's like, all right, well, it's on Spotify. I said, no, you should get Apple Music. He said, stop wasting my time. And like 2 days later, it showed up on Spotify. I think Alec had something to do with that. I think he messaged Eric on Instagram or something and said, not good enough. Give me all the streaming services.
No.
Yeah, I was thrilled when they finally got that on Spotify, but I actually bought the album. I bought the vinyl last summer just because that was the one album that I really had never been able to get into because like all I had to go on was, I mean, sure, I could have downloaded a digital version for Bandcamp, but you know, I wasn't really doing that. So I was just going on YouTube and going on the, you know, just watching the playlist, but that's just not the same. So I figured also just with the surf, you know, like spaghetti Western twang of that album, it would sound incredible on vinyl. And so I decided, all right, I'll do that. I'll buy that on vinyl. I'll, you know, confiscate my parents' record player since they just had it in the garage anyway. Yeah, so it was perfect.
It was the beginning of a series.
Great album. I just
vinyls collected.
That leads me into my next question. Which one did you get? Did you get the Gunsmoke variant? Did you get the orange one from ATO, or I
got the orange repress.
I figured that one's probably the easiest to get your hands on now,
and like
they're probably the cheapest. Easily.
Yeah, it was like $20 at Amoeba Records in LA, and it was, you know, like also if you ever get the chance to go to LA, go to Amoeba Records. It is a fucking paradise.
My notes right now.
Yeah, I mean, you just see so much. Like they have a second floor. Like they have multiple floors. They have the first floor, which is, you know, music and merch, and then like, you know, stereo equipment and stuff. And then the second level is movies and TV shows. And they've got all this obscure shit. They have these like they have almost everything on vinyl. Like they have everything, you know, jazz, classical, all rock, pop, international, and you know, and they even have some Bill Cosby albums if you want.
Interesting.
So it's like
Jared, you're just around the corner, Jared.
Well, my dad's already given me a couple of Bill Cosby albums. I think you guys are just a little late to the party. Come on.
Yeah. Well, you know, then
why don't you pop a needle on them?
But you know, then also, if we're not being sarcastic, they also have Bill Hicks albums.
God,
that's cool as shit.
Yeah, there we fucking go.
Need the Bill Hicks albums.
Other Bill. Better Bill.
The good Bill. I'm reading a book on Bill Hicks.
Which one? American Scream?
By a guy named Bod Oathwaite. No, it's called One Consciousness.
Oh yeah.
I think it's like a study of Bill Hicks's like philosophies or whatever.
Yeah.
I was just reading about how he would go on tour with Sam Kinison back in like the mid to late 80s and how they sort of approached things from a similar perspective and they talked about very similar topics. But Sam's was like a little bit more like he needed approval and at the same time was just more despicable rage and whatnot. Whereas Bill was like, I'm going to philosophize up here for 20 minutes while smoking a cigarette. I shouldn't be allowed to smoke up here. Is that cool? Okay.
Yeah. Bill Hicks I think Bill Hicks and Sam Kinison really point out the difference between cocaine and mushrooms, or just cocaine and psychedelics in general.
Psychedelics are a whole different story, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was so lucky just when I discovered Giz, you know, just since I discovered Giz a week or two after my first mushroom trip, and this was like my first foray into psychedelics. So psychedelics changed my life, and then King Gizzard sort of gave me like another, basically, I guess something else to follow. it just in terms of basic, day-to-day philosophy, and just like, hey, dude, chill the fuck out. Life isn't that. It doesn't have to be that hard. So it was. So that was pretty lucky.
That's really funny. Honestly,
Mhm.
like my first time, really getting into King Gizzard. I mean, I had heard of them. This is in 2017. Jarod had already kind of showed us who he was and everything. But King Gizzard was always Jared's band, I guess. Nobody really paid attention. I started listening to Murder of the Universe and I liked it, but I didn't really get too much into them. But then we went down to the Madison Beach Motel. This is where it all kind of went down. We decided to. Oh man, this was my first acid trip down there. Me and our other friend. We did acid for the first time.
There were a total of 5 of us in there. 4 of us did tabs. One of them didn't have such a good time because he was also drinking.
Oh yeah, you can't
Those
do that.
two mixed like grease and a match, I guess. But yeah, that was my third time, and I don't think my first 2 times really hit all that great. I mean, I had some fun experiences. Like I listened to the river and Dark Side of the Moon, laid down in a dark room for a while. It was great. Second time, I just walked around campus listening to Wolfpack and other weird kind of like niche college shit.
Wolfpack is
had
great.
a good time, got a little mental. Dude, Wolfpack's so great. They just put out like a new song, Test Drive, like a day or 2 ago.
I haven't seen that yet.
Really good. But yeah, that third time tripping one down at Madison Beach Motel, that was the flip of the switch that changed everything, really. And it's kind of funny that Matthew's favorite album is Murder of the Universe, and that sort of came to him like right around then. Because when it first came out, I didn't really like it. I really loved Flying Microtonal Banana and Paper Mache and some of their softer stuff. A little more of their like psychedelic sort of side as well. I wasn't really impressed by Murder, and I wound up not giving it a listen for a really long time after that. And then it was right around the end of the year, like just after Christmas and the lead up, as we were waiting to see will they or won't they get the last album out before the end of the year. I was so fraught with anticipation. Keep in mind, it had already been a month since Polygon Wonderland was coming out, and I was scratching like a heroin fiend, like I need more kids. So I was driving my grandma home from the airport, and I was like, all right, I'm driving my mom's car. I don't think there are any cops out. Let's play Murder of the Universe for the first time in I don't know how long. Yeah, that was a good time. I would still say Murder is probably my least favorite of the 5 albums from 2017, but that's because the other 4 are so good.
Yeah.
Gumboot's the one that I use to send to people like if they've never heard Giz before.
It's a great.
I think that's definitely the best one to send to people for the first time around.
It's Oddments Reloaded. It's so good. Polygon Dwanaland it's not my favorite album of the year. It's probably 3rd, but I would say it's their best album if we're talking from a purely musical standpoint. Like better than Nonagon in my opinion. As cool of a concept as Nonagon is, Poly is just it floors me every time I listen to it. I nenever walk away from a listen.
Yeah,
not impressed with that album.
Get what you're saying with the Poly versus Nonagon. Because like Nonagon it's still pretty lo-fi. Like I sort of wish that each of the instruments were a little crisper and better isolated. Because Poly sounds really clean. But musically it's sound, but I still have to give the edge to Nonagon just because of the execution of that concept. Like that is a bananas concept, and then to actually execute that perfectly is just insane to me that they were able to do it, and also have that not be the only album of the year. Like that's just wild to me.
It was. They came out with Murder that year.
Well, I think Nonagon was the only album. No. Nonagon.
Or wait, no, they're talking about Nonagon. Not bad.
But they wound up. So right after they put out Quarters was when they were going through the whole process of Nonagon, and then they got all
was
tired
Quarters
out.
2015?
Quarters and Paper Mache were both 2015.
Never mind. But yeah.
Yeah, Nonagon was all by itself.
Okay, but that still doesn't change my perspective on it.
It shouldn't. Nonagon is probably the crown jewel of their discography. Yeah. It's not even close to the top of my favorites, but I recognize it as one of their absolute masterpieces. Like, I feel the same way as a lot of people who say, I don't really like sketches, but I appreciate what they were trying to do. I feel the same way about Nonagon, and Sketches is probably one of my favorite of that album. So I'm just looking at it from sort of the opposite perspective, but I love hearing whenever someone says what their favorite Kid Gizzard album is and why, because I love all these stories of how the band has just introduced people to like new ideas of music, of lyricism. That's
Now,
just a great band,
I never really grew an appreciation for Sketches until recently with this whole quarantine stuff going on right there. I've always been a fan of their harder stuff like Nonagon or Murder of the Universe or, Infest the Rat. Gosh, Infest the Rat's Nest. There we go. Can get that. But,
put down the boots,
I'm
sir.
not even smoking right now. I will be after this podcast is over, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, same. Hurry up.
I'm trying. No.
Hey, sharing is caring.
But yeah, no. So really, what I'm gonna say is that what is it? Honestly, Sketches really, really impressed me recently. I decided, when this whole quarantine thing started, I'm not gonna be at work for a little while. I was off work for a couple of months and everything. I decided I was going to take some mushrooms, trip it out, in a nice quiet room by myself, with I have this little disco ball thing going and lava lamp, everything else, all this mood lighting going. I never really appreciated it until I had an entire environment set out and my mind was altered to the point where it just flowed so nicely. And since then, I can't get enough of Sketches. I've just been listening to it so much.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with that as well. Also, mushroom trip in March, and like I was just in my hammock, and it was just like a beautiful day.
That's a Southern California sentence if I ever heard it. I was in my hammock.
Yeah, I was in my hammock in Joshua Tree, California. Like I live in fucking paradise and pay next to nothing in rent. This is an amazing life choice, but I was in my hammock just listening to Sketches on mushrooms, and then like You Can Be Your Silhouette came on, and there was just and there's just that line in it. And bear in mind, quarantine had just gone into effect like a week before this, and there's that line that says, "You can't sell your gloom to me," and I was like, "Yep, this is it. This is my quarantine mantra," and I've just been in that, just like I'm doing great in quarantine in this pandemic while ton of people are suffering. I myself am doing quite well, and I will just try to maintain this mindset as long as possible.
Sketch's mindset is a truly great one. I mean, I love to imagine myself lying underneath a tree, and seeing a spider.
A huntsman specifically.
Yes, if I, the huntsman, am I a hippie if this is my idea of love? Well, fine, call me a hippie, but me and this spider are just vibing over here underneath this tree. And then I snap back to reality, realize, oh my God, there's a spider coming down from my windshield, and I almost crashed my fucking car. I swear to God, this last week. I like to think I'm a spider lover. No, I put on my hazard, stop the car, open the door. Fuck it. I reached for the first hat I could find, knocked that son of a bitch out of my car. I do not like spiders.
Yeah, I've actually developed a pretty, like, I don't know. I did like a hard 180 on spiders last year, like since I had just moved to the desert, and like we've got black widows and like desert recluses and stuff, tarantulas, but it wasn't until I had like about a dozen or so black widows just living around the outside of my house that I was like, wait, I actually love spiders, because everybody else I knew was having these cockroach problems and I had none. So it's yeah. So we worked out a treaty, and the spiders leave me alone as long as I leave them alone. So we really worked it out.
Remember that Rick and Morty episode where they solved like peace on Earth between the spider realm and the human realm? Spider leg ice cream. That shit sounds nasty.
Yep.
But yeah, so is it safe to say that You Can Be Your Silhouette is your favorite song off of Sketches then?
It's still probably Spider and Me.
I can agree with that.
Fair. What about that?
Yeah, I mean it's I mean then also Countdown into D-Day into Tezuta is just like I want to see that shit live. Like if they could start with Countdown, go into D-Day, and then just fucking shit. If they played Sketches all the way through, Dust to Dawn on Lygon Street is another favorite.
The book, though, let's think about that.
Yes.
That's straight up just
Dude,
talking
okay, yeah.
about. I'm a big story gives person, so I think that kind of shares for it a little bit.
Yeah. Matthew, you were raised Catholic. Now that I've reformed you, you really like the book and what it has to say about organized religion.
Yeah, well, you know what's interesting about Christianity and psychedelics is that it makes a lot of, people that were brought up Christian or Catholic or whatever, to sort of like realize like, hey, wait, no, we totally get what that was actually about. But now we're actually able to
we can actually practice it legitimately without, all this bullshit about, feeling miserable about yourself because you decided to get pregnant or something like that, some BS like that.
Right, but exactly. And that shit's just so outrageous. But, once you get the psychedelics and everything and you're actually feeling all of the love and just, greeting everybody with an open heart, that's all great, and so is the kid fucking.
The kid fucking is really what pushes me away from it. I haven't been to church in a couple of years because of this. I'll occasionally go to make my dad happy, but there's too much kid fucking going around. The Catholic Archbishop, the guy who's in charge of or was in charge of the Baltimore area, I actually got confirmed directly by him. And it turns out he was a kid fucker. So, I'm dealing with a lot of trauma from that. A little bit.
Yeah, well,
I mean, creepy.
Congratulations on making your way over to Giz from the Archbishop.
I was a confirmed Catholic before that, so you can imagine how that went. So.
Yeah. Man.
As great George once said, I used to be Irish Catholic, now I'm an American. You grow.
Yeah. You grow from being known for your alcoholism to being known for you probably like fentanyl.
Hey, a little bit of heroin, whatever. It's close enough to heroin.
I live close to Baltimore. We live close to Baltimore. I went to school in Columbus, the heroin capital of Midwest. I mean, I'd be remiss to say if I didn't see the occasional needle on the ground where I walked, but I just pretend that needle was filled with lysergic acid, diethylamide, and I'm like, all right, these
somebody's
kids
insulin, man. I don't know. I don't want to know.
I know.
Have you seen some of the people in Ohio, man? They cannot produce their own insulin worth shit. They are bovine.
They're massive, bro. Every single one of them. They're eating too much Canes.
Yeah, I haven't spent enough time in Ohio to pick up on their diabetics, but
so there's only one thing you need to know about Ohio, if I'm being entirely honest. It's not real. It's not real.
Ohio is not real. All the memes you see.
So here's the thing. It's extremity. It's either Ohio's not real or everything is Ohio. There is no in between.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I think it's really basically like rural Ohio is probably all the same, and then the cities are sort of the different parts. Like I've heard Cincinnati's incredible, Cleveland's kind of Columbus is pretty sweet too.
Columbus is great. Cleveland gets a really bad rap. My girlfriend's from Cleveland, and I've gotten a chance to go around the city. For everything I've seen, it's really kind of nice up there. You're not too far from Cuyahoga Valley National Park. The scenery up on that drive is honestly, for a Midwest state, really impressive. There's really cool stuff there. Chagrin Falls, got the chance to go there with my dad a couple of years ago and my girlfriend last summer. Really beautiful, picturesque place. And if you're ever in the Cleveland area, go to Dave's Cosmic Subs. It's out of this world sandwich food with like a late 60s British invasion sort of drug rock vibe, and it's really great. But all I have to say about Cincinnati is Harambe was killed there, and that's where our problems really begin if you think about it.
This all began in 2016.
I've still never been to Cincinnati actually, but I've just heard good things about the comedy clubs there.
Oh, big fan of the comedy then.
Yeah. I've heard the Bananas in Cincinnati is really good. It's one of the better comedy clubs in the country.
I know that a lot of mainstream comedians come to the Funny Bone in Columbus, which I probably would have made my way out to at some point were it not like right by a shopping center, which I think is kind of ironic, is that the people who are intelligent enough to critique and humorously analyze our society have to perform right next to where society is at its worst in fucking capitalist mode, man.
Yeah, it's really weird how that happens a lot. Like some of the best clubs that I've been to, like the Tempe Improv in Arizona, that doesn't really strike me as being a great place for comedy, on the outside, but it's like it's a really good room.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we should wrap up pretty quick here.
We're
Definitely.
going on a bit of a for sure.
Before I let you guys go, I just wanted to get a sense, and this is the first time I'm asking this question on the podcast, but if you had to make any food item with a Giz name, what would it be?
Oh man.
I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it, and I'll give you my suggestion. I would make bread on dill, which is fried pickles.
Nice.
Yeah, with and there'd be it would be served with a side of let's see, I guess Sea of Ranch. That's a little that's a little
pushing
weak,
it.
but never mind. Sea of
Sea treacle.
Okay, there we go. That could work. What are some other songs that they throw into the Head on Pill jams?
Altered Meat.
Some boogeyman ham.
There you go.
With some slow jam.
Yeah. Oh, slow jam.
That's an easy one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Rise Like the Sky. If you want to talk about bread types.
Yep. Get some good marbled rye. Mm-hmm. Make a Reuben.
Just Meals is not real.
Okay.
Wait, I didn't catch that. What?
Meals is not real.
Meals not
it's coming
real.
at you straight out of Africa.
So stupid.
Jesus.
Oh god, yeah, that's so fucking.
Or you can go to Flint, Michigan, and get some muddy water. You don't even have to change that name.
Yeah. Or actually, no, muddy water could just be the hot chocolate.
Oh, you're right.
That's good.
Or you can have some, just tea with hot water.
Yeah.
That's an easy one.
Mm-hmm. Caution contains gluten, may cause greenhouse wheat death.
All right, greenhouse wheat death. I think that's a good place to wrap it.
I was thinking the same. Yeah, let's put a bread tie on that bag, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
Guys, thanks so much for coming on this podcast. This
of course. Thank you for having us, John. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, take it
you
easy,
too.
guys.
You too.
Have a good one, man.